Welcome to the Ascent of Mount Carmel YouTube channel. If you've just stumbled onto this page and you're watching one of these videos for the first time, it's probably good to go back and watch the earlier videos in numerical order. Today we're discussing chapter 14 of the first book. After the next chapter, we'll move on to the second part of the book, which deals more with spiritual things and begins to explain the payoff for all the hard work we've been doing in mortifying our desires and pleasures for worldly things. In this chapter, St. John explains what the mortification of our desires leads to. And he also explains the effects. He assures us that the effects are wonderful. Padre Pio, whose body has remained incorruptible like St. John's, once said, "God enriches the soul that empties itself of everything." We can compare the book, Ascent of Mount Carmel, to the Bible. The first part of the Bible, the Old Testament, is where God gives the Israelites the Old Covenant, the Mosaic Law. In the Old Covenant, the first part of the Bible, it's primarily concerned with the actions of the Israelites, what they should and they shouldn't do. Now, the second part of the Bible is the New Testament, where Jesus fulfills the Old Covenant. And Jesus is more concerned with the conversion of the heart. So it is with the Ascent of Mount Carmel. In the first book, we talked about the purgation of the senses. It's about things we are doing. Now in the next book, which is really even more exciting, it's about the spiritual and what we might consider the payoff for us. In chapter 14, St. John resumes his explanation of his poem, Dark Night of the Soul. And in one verse, he refers to being kindled in love with yearnings. And this chapter deals with an explanation of that line. The line refers to the soul that has passed through the dark night of the senses and comes out to the union with God. St. John tells us that the reason it's difficult to deny ourselves of worldly pleasures is because we love and have affection for all of our pleasures. Therefore, if we hope to succeed, we need to find and experience something that brings us even greater and better love and affection. And that is, of course, God. When we have our attention and pleasure set upon God, we derive strength from Him. He will give us the courage that we need to deny ourselves of worldly pleasures. Pretty much everyone who isn't an atheist says that they love God. But our goal is to do more than just say we love God. We must feel more than that. God must be our intense desire. When we are accustomed to desiring things of a sensual nature, we're conditioned to being attracted toward other sensual things. And that seems natural because that's the way we've lived our entire lives. But we need to break through this. If we don't cultivate our spiritual part, we won't be able to throw off the yoke of being attracted to only things of a sensual nature. And in order to accomplish this, we have to have courage. Again, St. John uses the word courage, and we have to have courage to remain in darkness to all worldly things as best we can and to purge ourselves of the desires for them. St. John assures us that the first part of the night, which is book number 1, which deals with the purgation of senses, will give way to something that is sweet and delectable. And it will happen if we focus our desires and yearnings on God. It will even make all the trials and tribulations that we've been experiencing with the mortification of our senses actually seem sweet and delectable just in and of themselves. St. John tells us that to fully describe this process and the way it feels and the experience is really impossible. And the only way that we can really understand is for us to actually do it and experience it ourselves. So, let's ascend Mount Carmel together. Now this is a very short chapter, so we're going to conclude with a homework assignment. Now please bear with me because this isn't part of the book Ascent of Mount Carmel. But if you try it, I think you'll find it's actually kind of liberating. I'd like you to think of your biggest enemy here on earth. It might be a bad boss, it might be a rival at work, it might be somebody who's always needling you. But let's take a moment, and the person who really upsets you the most, identify that person in your mind. Let's take a moment and think about it. Okay, do you have that name? Now what we're going to do is that tomorrow or the next day that you can do it, every hour, on the 9 o'clock hour, the 10 o'clock hour, it doesn't have to be on the stroke, but within that hour, say an Our Father, Hail Mary, and a glory be for that person. And it's not, oh God, I wish that person wouldn't be such a jerk. It's actually a prayer for that person's well-being. It's okay to pray for their conversion, but please pray for their well-being. And to make this an even more difficult homework assignment, one of these hours during that 12-hour period, go to a church and pray in front of the tabernacle for your enemy. Now, why are we doing this? It's to prepare ourselves for the second part of the night, where we're going through a conversion of our heart. It's not just the doing and the purging of our senses, it's opening ourselves up for love for God. Well, I hope you enjoyed this installment of Ascent of Mount Carmel. If you like the installment, please subscribe to the channel. But as I said, please do go back and watch the earlier episodes. And please pray for the church.